I know it's only been a few days since my last video on the Spawnism situation, but a lot has happened since then, enough that I have no choice but to make another video. In just the last few days, I managed to get an interview with Chezble, one of the most disgusting criminals involved in Spawnism, where he openly admitted that the entire religion is fake, along with dozens of other disturbing things. On top of that, I've now discovered that the people behind Spawnism are spreading false pedophilic claims about the YouTubers who call them out, just because they've exposed the truth behind them. They're not just lying to cover themselves up anymore, they're actively trying to destroy my reputation along with many other creators. And what's worse is that some of these YouTubers are falling for the lies that Spawnist leaders are spreading. They're being misinformed and used to spread that same false narrative to unknowingly help their cause. In this video, I go over everything: the full interview with Chezble, the misinformation being spread by people who don't know the full story, the disgusting lies being thrown at me, and the truth behind once again. And finally, I'll be talking about the harsh, unfortunate reality behind this whole situation that nobody else seems to be addressing. So please make sure to like the video, subscribe, and watch until the very end, because this isn't just about raising awareness anymore. The people behind this are now actively spreading lies to discredit anyone who exposes them, and that alone shows just how far they're willing to go to keep this alive and unchallenged. Before we dive into everything new that's happened, here's a quick recap for anyone who hasn't seen my earlier videos, because this situation isn't just serious, it's gotten completely out of control. Spawnism started off as what looked like a strange online religion based around a Roblox spawn point icon. At first, it seemed like an edgy joke, but it quickly turned into something much more. The person who originally created the idea, a 14-year-old kid going by Infected, said that they were hearing voices they believed were from a fictional entity called the Spawn God.
So, do you hear the Spawn's voice in your head?
Not necessarily a voice, but it's like certain feelings, basically. It's like certain signs that I would get. Like, I technically am a prophet myself. So it's not voices, I don't think. Because the thing is, I'm the host of a system. I technically have DID and stuff. So it's difficult for me to just distinguish the voices from that and what signs I could be getting. So I don't think it's voices, but I do get signs, like certain feelings.
They were dealing with it at home and created Spawnism as a way to cope.
My mom is not a good person. I'm not gonna go into depth of stuff I
get that.
have a bad household. Yeah. So I was forced into therapy after a major incident, and it was regarding what had happened, and my mom won that, so I haven't had a good reputation with therapy, but I have been trying to actively seek it.
But instead of this being treated like a mental health crisis, it was taken advantage of. People like Chezble, SK, and the leaders of the UTTP saw this as an opportunity and turned Spawnism into a full-on. Kids as young as 13 were pulled into this fake belief system and were convinced to take part in disturbing rituals. They were told that if they themselves or made they'd earned something called a second life. These weren't just harmless role plays, these were real acts of emotional and physical. Spawnism specifically targeted vulnerable minors. Many of the people involved talked openly about trauma, neglect, or feeling abandoned, and Spawnism used that pain to keep them loyal, promising love, purpose, and a community that understood them. But behind all the friendly talk and dramatic symbolism were people using like tactics to maintain control. And it didn't stop there. Eventually, Spawnism was picked up by known extremist groups like UTTP and 764, groups that have been tied to serious online criminal behavior and are even being looked into by federal authorities. They started using Spawnism as a way to reach more people, directing children to suspicious illegal websites like Skibbity Farms, which collected personal data and have been linked to deeply illegal online activity. So what started as a misguided online movement became a network used to target minors, control them, and isolate them from help, all under the fake promise of spiritual progress. Creators like Chezble, Arlo, Creekcraft, and myself have been speaking out about this heavily, trying to bring awareness about how serious the situation really is. But instead of taking accountability, the leaders of Spawnism have responded by deflecting blame, spreading false claims, and attacking anyone who challenges them. Let me be clear, this is not a game, and it's not just internet drama. This is a real movement targeting targeting real people with consequences which the FBI is finally getting into. If you thought things couldn't get worse anymore, just wait until you hear what one of the movement's key figures, Chezble, admitted to in an interview. What you're about to hear isn't speculation or secondhand information. This came directly from Chezble himself. In the private interview with Chezbull, he revealed just how twisted his intentions really were, and what he admitted to proves beyond any doubt that Spawnism was never about belief or community or healing. It was about control. Right away, he admitted that he doesn't believe in Spawnism at all. He called it just an opportunity, something he used to manipulate others. In his own words, he said, "I do not believe in Spawnism even in the slightest." And that's just the start. He bragged about having complete influence over someone named Oscar, describing him who would quote-unquote do anything for him. When I asked what that meant, he dodged the question, but the way he responded made it very clear. He was implying that Oscar would follow any instruction, no matter how serious. And when I pressed him about whether that includes something illegal, he simply avoided answering with emojis, never completely denying it. This is a reoccurring pattern with Chezbull, avoiding accountability while making his intentions crystal clear through implication. Later in the interview, I asked how many people he believed he had through Spawnism, and his response was more than enough. When I asked him for an actual number, he completely refused, saying that I did not need to know. At one point in the conversation, I brought up the fact that there are real victims who have suffered severe psychological because of Spawnism, people who weren't just emotionally manipulated into but who ultimately took their own lives because of the mental toll put them through. And instead of acknowledging that, Chezbull completely brushed it off. He claimed there was no real proof anyone had taken their life because of Spawnism, pretending like the entire thing was just made up. But I wasn't going to let him lie his way out of that, because the truth is, Chezbull himself has already publicly admitted that people have taken their lives because of this, not just in passing comments, but in full YouTube videos. In one of them, he posted footage of a boy doing things for and the video ends with a text claiming that the boy took his own life. Keep in mind that Chezbull has actually admitted to this being his channel. This wasn't just speculation, this was content he uploaded, and it doesn't stop there. In one of his old Discord server announcements, Chezbull literally acknowledged that someone had by as a result of Spawnism. So for him to now act like none of this ever happened, it's not just disrespectful, it's calculated. He knows that acknowledging those deaths again, especially on record, in a conversation like this would be a direct path towards legal action. If he openly admits that people have their lives as a result of Spawnism, that becomes a clear legal grounds for law enforcement to subpoena his Discord account, trace his involvement, and potentially get him arrested. That's why he's trying so hard to backpedal now. He isn't denying it because it's false, he's denying it because he knows it could land him in prison. And that says everything you need to know about who Chezbull really is. He doesn't care about victims, he doesn't care about the damage, he just doesn't want to be held accountable. Even more disturbing, when asked if he felt any remorse for what he's done, he said, "I do not feel remorse even in the slightest. They deserve this." And when I asked why, he replied calling it natural selection. That's what we're dealing with here. This isn't some teenager, this is a grown adult, someone who fully admits they used a fake religion to take advantage of vulnerable people, and who openly says they feel no guilt for the that's been caused by them. He also admitted to encouraging extreme loyalty from victims, with some reportedly his name into their skin. And while he denies asking anyone to the spawn symbol itself, he does admit that having people inscribe his name was something that he allowed, if not encouraged. But what truly shocked me is how he casually spoke about it all, as if it wasn't a game to him. He didn't try to hide, he didn't try to clear his name, he just leaned into that role. When asked why he behaves this way, he said that people's hatred fuels him, that the more people dislike him, the more motivated he becomes. In his exact words, "People's hatred towards me, it motivates me." And just when I thought the conversation with Chezbull couldn't get any worse, it did. In the middle of our so-called interview, Chezbull sent me media that I quickly recognized contained extremely graphic and illegal content involving minors. I immediately reported it and used the Vencord moderation tool to hide the media. Chezbull openly admitted to saving this content and even bragged about having more. He casually said that this was just the surface and claimed to have a lot more saved, and then, on top of all that, he described one of the children as rather funny. He actually told me he has a clip of that same child crying because the child thought Chezbull was going to kill his family. This isn't just deranged behavior, this is completely criminal. He was in possession of what is considered material, admitted to saving it, and even tried to justify it by the children's ages, saying one was 9 and another was 11, as if that somehow makes it any less horrifying. I've already reported this to the proper platforms and submitted the full evidence. This is someone openly admitting to possessing, distributing, and using illegal content to children. And if you're still on the fence about whether Spawnism is dangerous, just remember that this is one of the people leading it. This interview showed the mindset of someone who sees manipulation, intimidation, and control as a source of pride. And the fact that someone like this was leading an online movement that reached hundreds of thousands of emotionally vulnerable children, that should be a wake-up call for everyone. Spawnism was never about belief, it was about the people like Chezble building power over others, especially those too young or isolated to understand what was happening to them. And just to be clear, while it's now confirmed that Oscar is not Chezble, that doesn't mean Oscar is off the hook. The things he said, the posts he's made, and the way he's inserted himself into the situation are still disgusting. Trying to tie yourself to Spawnism for clout, making jokes about serious topics, or spreading misinformation for attention, all of that is still. So no, Oscar isn't Chezble, but he's still not someone you should be defending. Now I want to talk about even more misinformation, specifically the lies being spread by another self-proclaimed Spawnism leader named Overlord Dreamy. First off, let me make something very clear. I have never mentioned this guy in my past videos, not once, but somehow he took it personally and started freaking out like I exposed his entire life. In one of the messages, he called Spawnism his religion and accused me of calling it which yeah, I did, because that's exactly what it is. But the way he phrases it is just laughable. He genuinely talks like he's the Spawn himself, like he created this whole thing. He's ironically out here saying, you talk about my religion as if he's some divine figure and not just some Roblox player who made a copycat server because the original one was trending. It's delusional. Then, in a pathetic attempt to rewrite reality, he claims he never did an interview with me, which is funny because I never said I did. I didn't interview him. I interviewed someone else, someone who actually proved that they were part of the original group that started Spawnism. Meanwhile, Overlord is just some random guy who wants to insert himself into something that's already falling apart. But it doesn't stop there. He then accuses me of dragging his server into the crossfire, supposedly because I think he owns all the Spawnist servers. Again, never said that, never even spoke about this guy before. He just made it all up. And then, as if he couldn't embarrass himself enough, he makes a horrible decision and tries to slander me by falsely labeling me, all because I exposed what this is doing. That kind of deflection isn't just disgusting, it's straight up dangerous. Let me be clear here. Not only is that accusation completely false, but he literally linked a video where I already debunked the claims in full. In that video, I showed direct proof that the original accuser admitted to lying, and for the record, the FBI themselves told that person that they were spreading misinformation.
Are they gonna do something about like the Gwamgo tip you submitted or not?
Probably not. It's not CP. It's not CP. It's not CP.
That's not speculation, that's a fact. And the irony here is wild. While Overlord is here running around and falsely accusing people who call him out, he's actually the one who was caught displaying inappropriate behavior towards minors. There's screenshots of him making graphic comments and asking children if they wanted to engage in acts. This is the same guy crying about being called a leader while doing the very things people associate with manipulators. And yes, before he tries to play victim again, his server is currently under investigation. The FBI is actively looking into every group tied to Spawnism, and that includes Overlord's server. At this point, it's not just some random Discord group, it's about people hiding behind a fake religion to manipulate others and then trying to cover their tracks by making false accusations against anyone who calls them out. Before I wrap this video up, there are two very important things I need to talk about, and both are tied to the aftermath of everything you've seen. The first is the real damage Spawnism has caused. As of right now, I've personally confirmed that 4 individuals have taken their own lives as a direct result of this. I've spoken to the families, and out of respect, I won't share those conversations publicly, but I need you to understand how serious this is. In those calls, I heard parents breaking down mid-sentence. I spoke with siblings who were traumatized by what their loved ones had gone through. This didn't just hurt people, it destroyed lives permanently. But tragically, the conversation about these victims has taken a very dark turn. What began as a way to bring awareness to those who were genuinely has now been hijacked by people trying to insert themselves into the situation. And to be clear, I'm not attacking survivors or those who were manipulated. What I am calling out are the random outsiders who started faking just to get attention. In one case I personally dealt with, someone who had been emotionally manipulated and pushed to the edge of thankfully survived. But then their siblings went online and started spreading a fake claim that they had actually. That is beyond messed up. When you fake in a situation where real people have lost their lives, you were not helping. You were spitting in the face of those who actually suffered. And the misinformation didn't stop there. I recently saw a YouTuber post a video claiming that someone else had as a result of Spawnism, but the person they were talking about is still alive. I don't know if the creator spread that misinformation on purpose or if they were just careless, but either way, they didn't fact check it. I even left a comment politely correcting them, but when I checked about 12 hours later, that comment was completely gone. Whether it was deleted or hidden, I can't say for sure. sure. But if your video spreads misinformation and your comment section hides corrections, that's not transparency, that's misleading your audience. Now for the second part, and this is something I need every single viewer to understand. Do not try to investigate this situation on your own. I know it sounds like an opportunity to help or expose something important, but you are only putting yourselves in danger. There was this one kid I spoke to who wanted to help. He said he wanted to be a detective to dig for evidence and infiltrate the server. We told him repeatedly, do not do that. My moderators and I explained that it was dangerous, that these people manipulate and anyone who gets too close. But he didn't listen. He kept pushing further and further into it, and eventually that same kid ended up himself doing SH just to try to get access to more information. Once we found out, we banned him from the server, not as punishment, but to protect him, and to make it clear that this kind of behavior isn't acceptable and it isn't safe. And here's where it gets even more serious. The FBI is already investigating this. Law enforcement is watching. If you try to join their Discord servers, or if you lurk in their chats, or if you're caught interacting with the group in general, you will be flagged. And the phrase, "I was just doing research," is not going to be a valid excuse. You will be questioned, you could be prosecuted depending on your activity. You're not going to outsmart federal investigators. You're going to incriminate yourself. So let me be absolutely clear. Do not go looking for this stuff. Do not try to expose these servers on your own. If you see anything suspicious, report it to the proper authorities or send it to trusted creators who are already handling this. But please do not try to be a hero in a situation you don't fully understand, because you're not just risking your safety, you could be risking your life. This isn't just Roblox drama, it's real victims in a movement that's already destroyed lives. Spawnism isn't just some edgy group. It's dangerous and it needs to be taken very seriously. I've done everything I can to bring the truth forward, to speak to victims, and expose those who are still trying to keep this alive under different names and different servers. But I can't do this alone. If you've made it this far into the video, I ask that you like the video, subscribe, and share this video in order to spread awareness and report any group tied to Spawnism that you come across. Don't get involved trying to investigate on your own. Let law enforcement handle that. Protect yourself and protect the people around you from being manipulated the same way others have been.